In this video, I want to talk about the most interesting scene in the Sunlit Man, a conversation between Wit and Nomad where there is a lot going on, a lot of undertext that's easy to miss. And this video will include spoilers for the Sunlit Man and all of the Stormlight archive up until the end of Wind and Truth. So with that, let's get into it because this is a good one. So what is the conversation? It's basically somewhere in the middle of the book where Wit appears in front of Nomad, and the scene is defined, and the conversation between them is defined by kind of two elements. One is Nomad's anger and resentment for Wit's multiple perceived betrayals of him, and the second part of that is Wit's unusual sincerity and remorse for his actions in the past towards Nomad. Before going further, I want to get one thing out of the way, which is Nomad is Sigzil, who is, I have a whole other video about this, but Nomad is Sigzil, who is part of Bridge 4, and eventually rises to become the captain of the Windrunners and Kaladin's heir in the Knights Radiant. He is also somebody that we see Wit turn over the Dawn Shard that exists to at the end of Wind and Truth in kind of a desperate bid to prevent that Dawn Shard from falling into Retribution's hands. At some point in Sigzil's past, he had become an apprentice for Hoid or Wit as part of the World Singers. And the World Singers are kind of a group under Roshar, seemingly led by Wit, whose mission is to storytell and spread peace through understanding. And at some point during that, Sigzil had to leave the World Singers and eventually ended up being a slave. And so one of the things that he's particularly angry and resentful about is the fact that Wit did not come and save him while he was at his lowest. Nomad is also furious at Wit for forcing him to carry the Dawn Shard. I mentioned that Wit, at the end of Wind and Truth, gave the Dawn Shard to Sigzil, kind of to prevent it from falling into Retribution's hands. What this meant is that it left a torment, what Nomad terms a torment on his soul, that essentially has set the Night Brigade, some sort of an evil force, after him. As a result of that, Nomad has been forced to go into hiding or in flight. He is fleeing the Night Brigade, he's abandoned his identity as Sigzil, and he's literally defined by his nomadic existence, all to protect the Dawn Shard and protect Wit, who is also connected to the Dawn Shard. But digging a bit deeper, you can actually turn the entire scene around to frame it not around Wit's betrayals of Nomad, but in fact about Wit's protection of Nomad from the Night Brigade. To understand that, you have to turn to the epilogue, I think, where we actually meet two members of the Night Brigade. That's the Admiral, who seems to run it, and somebody known as Staff Sergeant Truth is Waiting. Now, it's easy to dismiss Staff Sergeant Truth is Waiting as kind of a minor character, but I want to posit that Staff Sergeant is actually Wit, who has infiltrated the Night Brigade as a way to protect Nomad. First, and this is kind of a fun one, or a silly one, but I think it's compelling, which is that Truth is Waiting is actually, the letters spell out Wit backwards, and nothing about names in Brandon Sanderson's work are coincidences. The second reason is that some of the affects or the demeanor that we see Truth is Waiting adopt is actually quite similar to Wit when he's hiding, when we see him hiding in different kind of disguises, whether it's as a beggar or a jester. He's slouching, he has his hands in his pocket, the gait is kind of similar, which suggests to me that it is Wit. It's also mighty suspicious that when we see Wit speaking to Nomad earlier in the scene that I mentioned, he's wearing a uniform, which the Night Brigade are wearing uniforms. But to me, where this really comes alive is in Staff Sergeant Truth is Waiting's actions, because we see him repeatedly actually wave off the Admiral from following Nomad and protecting the Beaconites. So when the Admiral is deciding whether or not Nomad is dead or whether or not to follow the Beaconites, Staff Sergeant Truth is Waiting is the one that kind of redirects her away from it. And in doing so, he enables Nomad to leave the planet Canicle and escape. To me, it shows that even while Nomad is accusing Wit of using him as a pawn in his grand schemes, what we're actually seeing is Wit putting himself in extreme peril to protect Nomad. And that kind of makes you like Wit a little bit better. So what do you think? What do you think of that scene? And tell me what you think in the comments below. And if you like this kind of content, please like the video and please subscribe to All Things Cosmere. Thanks, everyone.